Another Monday, another edition of Ask Mike, joined by Mike Irwin. More than 50 years of build-up equity covering Arkansas athletics. Mike, we have another new football coach, Arkansas doing this time and time again. The fan base not necessarily thrilled. However, the resume indicates Arkansas made a pretty good, hopefully a solid hire.
Yet something I've never seen in 50 years, a protest.
I don't care how small it was.
Wasn't a big protest.
It was still there.
I'd never seen a protest before. So you never ever say, as long as you do this, that you're not going to see something new, because you still do from time to time.
Why do you think that happened? Why did fans feel the need to get out there and protest something?
These were students. I think they're frustrated with the athletic director, and we'll talk about this later, but I think if you didn't want the AD to make this hire, and you believe he was the reason why the program is bad now anyway, then why do you want him to make the next hire? And I think that's why they were protesting. And I think they were probably protesting Silverfield when not really paying much attention to who he was. But did they really think they were going to block this thing? Because it's happened at other schools occasionally. It's not happened here, and it's not going to happen this time either.
All right, he is a winner, 50-25, 29-9 the last 3 years. So going to be talking a lot about Ryan Silverfield, a lot about Hunter Yurachek. Diving into it here, first question of the week coming from WV Hog Fan, who asked, please give me some reasons why Ryan Silverfield is the best coach we could have possibly hired.
Well, all I can do is give you the reasons that the athletic department listed, because they put it up there on the internet where you could read it. So 66% winning percentage in 6 seasons, 6 straight bowl appearances, 2 10-win seasons. In fact, 2 out of the last 3 were 10-win seasons.
Yeah, 21 wins combined in 2023 and 2024.
Yeah, so that basically gives you a top 10 winning percentage over the last 3 seasons. And he was also apparently 6-1 against Eric Morris, Alex Golish, and John Summerall, all of those who got other jobs at other places. So that's the reason that they gave. Now, to counter that, some of the fans pointed out, and you're probably more familiar with it because I didn't look at all of this, but no conference championships in 6
Never
seasons.
even played for a conference championship, correct.
An overall losing record against teams with winning records.
Yep.
That was wasn't that the complaint against when we started? James Franklin.
Yeah.
He always lost to the good teams.
Correct.
And also there's this one. Right now he's on a 4-game losing streak, so we just hired a guy and we've lost 10 straight here, and we've hired a guy that's lost 4 straight, so we've got a combined 14 straight games lost. So there was a pushback, but as we look at this hire, and I'm going to get into it more as we go along, when you really look at this guy, and especially the fact that he came in here on Sunday and was already went to work, and he's already accomplished some things that maybe will change some minds.
Yeah, he's already flipping some recruits, doing some big things. That's the biggest thing. You got to increase the talent pool. That's the biggest reason why Arkansas is where it's at. So something here that does catch my attention is kind of the perception of this whole thing. So at Memphis, that's a Cadillac Group 5 program. You know, they have, for the American Athletic Conference, they're like an Alabama. They're like a Georgia. He's good there, but he didn't dominate. And now he's coming to Arkansas, and let's be honest, no matter what the changes that are made, this is not going to be a top 5, top 8 kind of resource program in the SEC. You're going to have to do more with less. So how does he do that? Because at Memphis, he had more money. He had better players than his opponents. At Arkansas, there's probably going to have to be a little bit more smoke and mirrors.
He's going to have to do it with his own personality. We've seen a little bit of that so far, and it looks pretty good. The school put online his meeting with the players. That was interesting. What I found very interesting was that at one point he looked at those players and he said, if you're one of those players that's planning on transferring to another school that we're going to play this fall, prepare to get your blank beat. And players, that's their language. There will be some response to that. He's openly challenging. Do you think you're going to get out of here and go help? Because that's happened, by the way, over the last few years. The players have gone off somewhere to Ole Miss, for instance, and they beat. He said, that's not happening here now. Now that I'm here, so he at least has the ability to talk. And honestly, that was a perception of the fans about Sam Pittman, that he was this really nice guy. But when he got excited, what did he get excited about? Let's turn that jukebox on. And, you know, everybody's going to party.
Bowling ball.
Yeah, and the bowling ball and all that stuff. But what did he say to the players before a game? When he was on the sidelines, did they look over at him and think, "Hey, we can win this"? Corey Beck always told this story about Nolan. He said anytime we were in a tough game and we thought we might lose, we'd look over and see Nolan on the bench, and we knew we weren't going to lose because of who our coach was. I don't think there's a perception that the players didn't look at Sam Pittman over there on the sidelines when they're out on the field and go, "We're fine, we'll be fine." It was the opposite of that. He seemed confused. So if this guy can come in and be different from that, that alone I think is going to help.
Do you think it's fair that fans are critical of this? And really what I mean by that is he's walking into a tough situation. I think it's a solid hire for Arkansas, and this is not his fault. I hope he wins. I do. I want Arkansas to be great. I do so badly. But he is walking into a situation where the fan base is going, we're already out on this guy and he hasn't even started yet.
Yeah, but that happens these days. It happened to Summerall at Florida. I was reading some stuff on his own page that people got on there and they were saying, "Go away, go back where you came from. We don't need you. We don't like you." You know?
We wanted Lane Kiffin.
Yeah. So, you know, it happens. That's the way it is. But I want to make a point about something, and it's very important. When you read social media, especially X or Twitter, don't assume that what you see there is what everybody feels like. That's the general consensus. Sure. Because as I pointed out before, in this entire 8-week process, those people were scattered all over the place as to who they wanted. Most of them continued to want Petrino. But the ones that wanted other coaches, I like this guy. You're stupid if you like that guy. They went after each other. And I've talked to people that are on X who don't ever post. I said, "Why don't you ever make a post?" And he said, "Well, I did a few times and I got ripped, and I don't do that. I'm not doing that." I think a lot of people don't want to post their opinion because they're not interested in getting a fight with somebody. Whereas the people that do post their opinions love to fight. So it gives you a skewed impression of what's going on. Back during 2006, when all that controversy was going on with Houston Nutt and Gus Malzahn and Mitch Mustain and all that stuff, Springdale 5, Hogville was ground center for anti-Nuttism. That's what I call it. They were really mad at him. And they were the ones that got together and pooled some money and got a plane to fly over the stadium that said "Fire Nut." You know, you got to be really mad at somebody to do that. So they ran a poll, and the poll said it was a Hogville online poll, and it showed that Houston Nutt had 8% support among, and they said the fan base. I stepped in there. I was a moderator. I said, "Wait a minute, guys. Hogville is not the fan base. It's you guys." And they said, "Well, what's the difference?" And I said, "Well, my wife at that time had a consulting firm, and she was helping political candidates get elected in this state. And they had to do scientific polling because when you're trying to win a race, you don't want a skewed poll. You want the real thing." I said, "If you wanted to know how the fans really feel about Houston Nutt, go do an online scientific, not an online poll, but a scientific poll. It will be different." "Oh, baloney." That's what they said to me. Well, one of the guys decided, hey, there may be something to this. He contacted me and he said, "Look, how much is this going to cost?" I said, "Oh, my wife says it's around $6,000, $8,000 to do one of these polls." He said, "I'll pay it. Put me in touch with the best one." So I asked her. She gave me the name of the company. He contacted them and did a poll. Now, there were a lot of questions asked, but the main one was, do you support Houston Nutt as the head coach of the football program? What do you think the percentage was? Not 8%, 69%.
In support.
In support.
It's a little bit higher than I thought. I would have said 50-50.
No, it was 69%.
But that's a lot higher than 8.
That's a lot different than 8. And that should be a lesson to all of you. Don't look online and assume that what you're seeing online is the actual, what the general public feels. So what I will tell you is I think if you ask most people about Silverfield, they're not turned on with this hire. Yeah. They probably thought they could get a bigger name, but they're willing to kind of let's see what happens here. They're not as angry as some of these other people because I don't think they had a guy in mind and said, if you don't give me this guy, I'm going to be mad, which is what I think you get on the internet. So I don't know what the percentage of support for him would be right now, but I would be willing to bet you that when he's introduced at Bud Walton, they're not going to boo him out and tell him to be
There may be a couple, but no, it's a pep rally at those basketball games. Come on.
And people are generally going to be nice to him. They know he's got a family. They don't want him to come in here and say, get out of here, go away. We don't want you here. I mean, we're nice people here in Northwest Arkansas. We believe in giving people a fair chance, right?
Most of the time. Nice people, except, as you said, on the internet.
On the internet.
That's where stay away from the internet. Good resume, better resume than Alex Golish.
Yes.
Better resume than Eric Morris as well. The guy's a winner, proving track record.
And
where I am a little skeptical here, though, Hunter Yurachek said there's going to be more money.
Yeah.
This appears to be the 15th highest paid head coach in the SEC.
That's what we don't know.
I don't know if, and this blows my mind, Mike, I don't know if Arkansas has been humbled enough with all the losing to where they're still trying to be like, we got a budget, and a 6th year, a 7th year, a bonus. Whoa, we don't want to do that, and that scares me.
What they think is big money may not actually be big money. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But the one thing else I would say about Silverfield, guess what? He wanted the job. The rest of them didn't. A lot of people turned this down.
Yeah, you don't want this to be a stepping stone kind of situation, or you're just hiring a mercenary, something like that.
I mean, if a guy didn't want to come here, he didn't want to come here. You at least want somebody that wants to be here. You got to feel like they'll be more motivated, to make. I don't know what it was about this Arkansas job that he had his eye on, but it was pretty clear after you looked at all the
Seems
facts.
like a good fit, right?
That he really wanted this job, and he had other options. There are other places he could have gone.
I absolutely think Arkansas could have done a lot worse. Again, 50-25. This guy is a winner. Did have some pretty good resources at Memphis, but I also will throw this in there. These contracts nowadays, they're pretty much guaranteed. So Arkansas is at 5 years with Ryan Silverfield. Auburn, Alex Golish. Don't kid yourself. There was a lot of interest in Alex Golish here at Arkansas. He's getting an extra year, and in total the contract, $11 million more than what Silverfield is getting at Memphis. Don't kid yourself. There's a reason why he's at Auburn and not here, and it's because either it's a better job or they weren't willing to pay. That's not for me to decide which one is even worse. Next question here, coming from Fat Hogs. With Ryan Silverfield being hired, is the improvement going to come from recruiting? He doesn't exactly have a great record against teams with over 500 winning records. Did we hire a lesser coach to have more NIL money?
No, that's not what they were doing. They didn't hire him to say, okay, we won't pay him as much and we'll have more NIL left over. Because what, at least at the moment, what it looks like and what I've heard is they actually don't have what they want to have. The word I got was they've got $10 million in the bank. They think they have 20 more, but it's not there yet. They assume they're going to get it.
That's a 200% increase.
Yes.
That's a lot more.
So the point is, we don't know where it's at right now. But what I was told is because it was this higher, right now it's less. So if that were their strategy, hire a guy that doesn't cost you so much because we can spend more on NIL. You do that and you end up with less NIL. So that's a bad strategy. And I don't think that's why he was hired. I think, honestly, they were down to their last two options. And he was one of the last two.
Yeah, well, Pete Thamel, Eric Morris, Alex Golish, Ryan Silverfield, Kane Womack. He said, hey, this is who they're centering in on. Look for it to be resolved. Morris came off the board. Golish came off the board. About 10 minutes later, Ryan Silverfield was their head coach.
Yeah. So, I mean, he was hired because he was I'm not saying there's not things to look at and say this looks good. But again, they were down to their last two options, I think.
All right, he is Mike Irwin. Lot to get to here on this week's Ask Mike. We're breaking it all down. Ryan Silverfield, the fallout, the good, the bad, all of it. We got to take a quick timeout. Back here on Ask Mike and getting right back into your questions as Arkansas now has its 35th head coach in program history. Ryan Silverfield, now the man running the show for Arkansas football. Next question here coming from 20 Gauge, who wants to know, what's it going to take for Arkansas to get serious about this football program? I completely understand where we are in the pecking order of things, but it really seems like we don't even try. Mike, I kind of made a comment about this. I do understand where that's coming from because, again, if you have the 14th or 15th highest paid coach in the SEC, however it shakes out, that does not scream that you're committed to winning and getting this turned around.
Yeah, they did try. That doesn't mean that there shouldn't have been things that enabled them to do better. But again, if you get turned down and you get turned down and you get turned down, it's not that you're not trying, you don't have what you need to get them. And then you start arguing about, okay, why did we not have the NIL money? Why is NIL a problem? Is it the athletic director, which a lot of these people feel like it is on him? So why did you put him in charge of the search? Why did you let him conduct this search? Shouldn't it have been someone, and then while we were doing this, everybody would have a better attitude, the boosters would all be happier, we could get people together and we could have a better situation. I still feel like there's a split among boosters. I still don't believe they brought them together the way they need to. I think he has to do that now, Silverfield. He has to be a part of that. But yes, there are issues, and if you try to say there's not, you're just being blind to the whole thing.
So what's worse? Is it, nope, we're done. We drew our line in the sand, Eric Morris or Alex Golish or Rhett Lashley or James Franklin, whoever. This is what we're paying. Do you want the job or not? Is that worse, that they won't up their bid? Or is the worst scenario that maybe they were more aggressive with Alex Golish? Maybe they said, hey, we don't want to lose you. What do you want? And he said, no thanks, I just don't want the job. What's worse?
I just don't want the job, because you could always come up with the money. If you just don't want the job, then you've got to solve a problem here. And why would somebody say that? I went back, and it took a while, but I checked this out. Since that motorcycle accident in 2012, in the SEC, Arkansas in 14 seasons has 27 wins, 87 losses.
Yikes.
Guess what that a winning percentage of? 23%. And included that are 2 1-win seasons and 4 0-win seasons. Coaches look at that and go, are you kidding me? I want to go to that school? They got problems there. So when I look at that, I'm saying to myself, how'd they even get Silverfield? I mean, this would be difficult to me. You'd have to almost find somebody like a Womack, like a Kane Womack, who played at Arkansas. His daddy coached here. And you want to come back here and you don't care about those numbers. But they did find a guy that didn't have those ties and still wanted it.
All right, next question here coming from Brendan, who says, it's unfathomable that the Board of Trustees appointed individuals entrusted with leading our flagship institution allowed it to get to this point.
Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about this because I've had conversations with businessmen in the area that are saying this. What they told me was, we're not mad at your check anymore. We're mad at the people that haven't done anything about it. Because here, and one in particular, and boy, it's just a difficult conversation. The guy said, I think my business may go under. I depend upon fans and fans buying stuff from me.
Yeah, think about those bars, those restaurants, those souvenir stands,
people
all of
that
it.
come in for games, and now they're not coming in for games because of all this stuff that's going on.
Losing.
And he says if it gets worse, we're already at the bottom, and we've been at the bottom for a while, and if we don't come out of this, he said, I'll lose my business, but he said, guess what else is going to happen? If these people on the board don't understand that this can affect the university, he said, I promise you, a lot of kids come up here from Central Arkansas, from Texas, wherever they come up here for a fan experience too. They can get an education in a lot of places. But if they want to come up here and go to the stadium, go to the basketball arena, go to baseball and do all this stuff, the program has to have the money to do it. Yep. And football generates most of the money. And they're worried that next year it may start to drop off. You may see a drop in season ticket sales. If it's 20% or 30%, that affects the whole budget. And then that starts to affect the university. I'm driving from over by the university back over to where we're located a couple of days ago, and I noticed some big, giant new building they're building over there. What's that? Somebody said it's another one of these off-campus housing things. Mm-hmm. Well, what if they're building all this stuff and then suddenly you don't need it? I mean, a lot of people would go bankrupt over that. So you want the university to stay healthy. You want enrollment to be good. If the Board of Trustees, the chancellor, those people don't see that this is their issue, it's just a thing where your check has to solve it, and they don't, and they won't step in and make a change because he's the one that they view, a lot of these fans and business people view he's the one that caused this problem. They're not willing to do anything about it. Then they're turning and saying, this is what the guy said to me, how do you get rid of a board member? I said, I don't know. I don't think you impeach him. I don't know what you do. And he said, maybe you go to the governor. I don't know. But we're going to He said, I'm going to start trying to figure that out if they don't get serious about this. So it's an interesting subject. I'd never heard that before. People they always just want to blame the athletic director, and they don't act like there's anybody above him that can do anything about this. But now people are turning, at least some, are turning their anger toward the people above Hunter Yurachek.
Yeah, and it's something you said there. The impact this football program has on the local economy, there's no question. It's been down for far too long. I know you're a college football fan, die hard through and through, so you have to have heard of this. Perhaps in the next decade, there could be this college football super league. Basically the Big Ten, the SEC, just a couple others. They're going to rearrange the whole thing. They're going to keep all the money, all that stuff. Should Arkansas be concerned if they can't get the results right, that they're not one of those 40 or 50 teams?
Well, there are fans that are concerned about it. I don't know.
I'm concerned about that.
I don't know what the administration thinks about that. I don't know what the SEC thinks about it. I don't know what the Board of Trustees thinks about it. But yes, there are definitely fans that are worried about that. They say we're going to get left out, and then what happens?
Yeah, then you really imagine playing in the American or the Big 12 Light or something like that, and then what happens to your economy, and then what happens to that 70,000-seat stadium just being more empty than it has been lately. Next question here coming from Sherlock Hogg, who asks, is our program just not a desirable destination and no amount of money would attract what some would consider a top-tier coach, or are we really just too cheap or broke to be elite?
Again, we don't know right now. Hunter Yurachek put out this statement online yesterday, and it indicated they have money. Okay, didn't it?
It sure, that's what he said. But again, this is the third time I'm going to say this today. Ryan Silverfield is either the 14th, 15th, 16th highest paid coach in the SEC.
Okay, so we don't know. I don't know. He may suddenly have to raise more money. Yeah. They may be telling him that now, or he may have more than we think. It won't come out for a while. Here's where we're going to start to find out how much money they have. The portal opens up, and you're going to start bringing people through the portal in January, right? Okay.
It's open today, but yes.
But
the deals are happening today, but officially,
you can't officially bring somebody in until January.
Correct.
So he's got about a month to figure this out. But we have people, all these recruiting people do a marvelous job. Otis Kirk does ours. I mean, they've got people on these other online.
Yeah, certainly.
And so there's a bunch of them. Here's what they're going to do. If they bring in a guy out of the portal, they're going to tell you what it costs because they know. They can find out. If they lost a guy, they lost this guy to this guy, and you're going to find out, did they lose it because they didn't have the money? This is when we're going to start finding out if they do have more money. Mm-hmm. So right now, I hesitate to say they don't have the money, they have money. I mean, we've gone back and forth. I mean, it's like Yurachek can't figure it out. He said, we don't have the money. Then he said, we do have the money. So the real proof in the pudding is when you start trying to bring these guys in through the portal and you find out how many did you get, how many did you not get, who'd they steal, and then do you start losing your own players through the portal? You got a guy you want to keep, a good offensive lineman who played a lot this year. What if he's suddenly gone?
Quincy Rhodes either going to the NFL draft or he's hitting the portal.
Yeah.
And is Arkansas going to be able to keep him?
Does he hit the portal? Now, if he goes to the NFL, there's nothing you can do anyway. But if he hits the portal, then that must mean you have money problems.
Yeah, I think the fans are kind of all there. It's one thing, you put it in a press release today, we got more resources now to compete. Show me. Okay. Texas Tech last year spent more money in the portal than any other team in the country. Look where they're at. They're top 5 in the country. Probably going to go to the playoff and win a game.
Yeah, at least might win too. I've got friends out there. They can't believe how good they are. They're calling me up saying, "We've actually got an offense and a defense."
Looks like an SEC team, doesn't it?
Yeah, we're good, and they spent $44 million on it.
Not my money. Why should I? I don't care if Arkansas is profitable. I just want them to win. And Hunter Yurachek and the board and the president, they have to see that. Your fan base is never going to say, "Oh man, they're not making enough money." They don't care about it. Yankee fans, you think they care what their payroll is? No, they want to see a winner. Next question here coming from Oklahoma, who wants to know, could you detail what a memorandum of understanding entails? Coaches agree to move to a new school with one or something like that, but the actual contract is months in the making. Does a MOU have any legal teeth?
Well, it depends on the wording in that contract, that memorandum of understanding. Under certain circumstances, I do think it's binding, but usually it's not. It's very, very common in hiring coaches to have the initial, I call it a temporary, it doesn't sound as fancy, but I call it a temporary contract. They've got the basic details in there, but there are a lot of things that have to be worked out, and it is not unusual for it to take about 6 months for you'll have a coach that gets hired, and then all of a sudden you'll see a story 6 months later, he's actually signed his contract. You go, I thought he already signed. Well, what he signed was one of these memorandum of understanding contracts, and then later on he signs the real thing. It is worth noting, and I'm sure it may have happened, but I'm not aware of it. It's very rare for either the school to back out. If they start going into these details and they suddenly can't work it out, so they say, get out of here. We can't deal with you. They're probably not going to do that. 6 months invested into the guy, and he's probably not going to pull away unless he had some new offer. So it is pretty binding, even if it's not legally binding.
The legal jargon, let's play football. Let's get the players in here. Let's get the staff in here. Let's get him all the support he needs, and let's go play the games out on the field. More to come here with Mike Irwin on another episode of Ask Mike. Time now for more of your questions. Ryan Silverfield, the new man in charge of the Arkansas football program. Next question here coming from Razor Boo, who wants to know, what are the first 3 things Silverfield needs to do to start to turn the ship? I cannot live in the cesspool of negativity. As a 60-plus year fan and alumni, he is capable of doing what Curt Cignetti has done at Indiana.
Yeah, he's kind of posing that as a question, and I'll say no, forget that. You're not going to get a Cignetti. He's not going to do that. There's very few things that I will say definitively, but you're not going to be looking at in 2 years a team playing for the national
It's 12-0 and in the SEC championship
I don't
game.
think you're going to get that kind of turn.
It'd be great, wouldn't it?
So what does he need to do? We've seen some indication already in that the first thing he did when he arrived yesterday was he got a list of the players who decommitted, in-state players. They didn't decommit, they were in-state players who committed out of state. Sam Pittman always had the attitude, if I need a wide receiver, a 4-star wide receiver, and we've got one here in Arkansas, and I talked to him, and our coaches talked to him, and he's talking seriously with an out-of-state school, and they may offer him more or whatever, I'll just say, okay, we'll go get somebody from Missouri, Texas, Georgia, wherever we have to go.
23-year-old transfer, whatever. We'll figure it out.
Pittman didn't seem to, it didn't make much difference to him. It was the quality of the player. Apparently, Silverfield doesn't feel that way because one of the first things he did was ask for a list of in-state players who were committed out somewhere else. Now, the signing day is not till February. So he can go call any of these people up. Well, he's already flipped 3 of them, I think we've heard. And I was talking to somebody that follows recruiting. He says, really only needs about 3 more. He said, some of those you don't want anyway. But if you're getting, which he did today, he got a commitment from the top player in the state of Arkansas. And that's impressive to do that. And a lot of fans,
basically in 24 hours.
A lot of fans like that idea, like the idea of, let's get the best in-state guys. Let's don't just give them up to somebody else. That was annoying when, Drinkwitz was coming in here and grabbing off good players and sending them off to Missouri. It infuriated the fans. So he's doing that. We've already talked about the other thing he has to do was somehow make sure the NIL money is there. If not, he's got a month to figure out how to get it because he's going to have to. Typically, now, this is interesting. He ended up losing about 60 to 70% of his staff, of his players last year. He had a total, and that may be one of the reasons they struggled a little bit this year. But he had a big turnaround last year, and he had to go in and replace a lot of those. So he's not new to this situation. But we'll see what he can do out of the portal. That's important. Then I think, again, he's got to establish a relationship. If he can somehow get an audience with the 2 Waltons up there, Jim, and the two, you have the grandsons that are not that much into sports. You've got the sons of Sam Walton, or Jim, not Sam Walton. Yeah, Sam Walton. I get Bud and Sam mixed up at times. If you can get an audience with them and get them to
invest.
What if they just give you $20 million? I mean, they've got billions. They just
apparently hundreds of billions.
They bought the Denver Broncos, right? So
and they're privately financing a $2 billion stadium project.
Yeah. So if you can do all that, just help us some here. So that would be a good place to start. Trying to get all of these boosters that are, because there's a bunch of them that didn't want him. Find out the ones that didn't want me to be here. Then I'll go convince them they should be glad I'm here. So he has to do all of that. And then the fan collective. It's not very good here. It's really good at Ole Miss. Mm-hmm. So if he somehow can reach out to the fans and get them to like this guy and believe in him, then you get the fan collective going. One of the things that he's already done, and he didn't do this, some Arkansas fan did it. They went onto his social media site, and I don't know how long ago this was, but they found a post there where he went out to a local animal shelter and adopted a dog, and it shows him there with the dog. I mean, dog lovers will jump all over that. I'm a Razorback fan, but I'm a dog lover, and this guy's rescued a dog. He's my guy. So, you got to do stuff like that to get people on your side. And then, again, I think what he said to the players will help, You think you're going to come in here and transfer to some other school and beat us? You got another thing coming. We're going to stomp you.
How about this one? I don't think there's been a high school quarterback that's been more famous in Arkansas since Mitch Mustaine than Kane Archer. Right. He was this uber prospect in 8th grade, lighting it up at Greenwood. In fairness, 1 week ago, he decommitted from UCF, re-upped with Utah, and he's going to be an early enrollee. That means 1 month from now he's going to start class. So it's probably an incredible long shot. What if they can get Kane Archer on board at Arkansas? Kane did an interview with DJ Williams, and he made it clear, like, hey, I do want to be a Razorback. It's just the situation kind of wasn't really there for me.
They're going to have to offer him. From the impression I got from listening to that interview was, if you offer me, I'll come. Now, I guess they've got to offer
and make me feel wanted.
Yeah. So we'll see if he does that. I don't know. I don't know how he feels about that specific situation, but he's already said, I want out-of-state commitments to commit here, to decommit wherever they are and commit here. So we'll see if that's one of them, that happens. If he does that, he's got Greenwood all on his side for sure. All those Greenwood fans, man, I want season tickets. We'll buy season tickets. It would be a smart move, I will tell you that. It would be a really smart move.
I agree. They could build up a lot of equity, and I think, the last time Arkansas really had a renaissance, they turned the corner from Houston Nutt to Bobby Petrino. I give Houston a lot of credit. Bobby's first class, that was largely Houston's recruits. However, Tyler Wilson and Joe Adams are two players that Bobby flipped that were in this state to come to Arkansas, and those guys meant so much.
Tyler Wilson was headed elsewhere, and he got him to come back, and he ended up being his starter and led him to a Cotton Bowl win.
Next question here coming from Ham Porter, who asked, have you gotten any indications that significantly more money will be given to support the program, or are we financially not in a place to compete? Man, a whole lot of questions about money here.
There is, because that's the fans, I think they don't believe it. But yes, there was an indication on the website. You could read it. Said we have more money. We don't know if that's true or not. We're not going to know for a while. I don't know how else to put it.
And I don't know who's really...
The proof is in the pudding.
If they don't spend the money, who's going to hold them accountable?
Well, I don't know, but the proof is in the pudding. If you have the money, then we should be hearing stories in about a month of them grabbing off this guy, that guy, we got this guy, we pull this guy in, we did this. And if you're instead hearing, we almost got him, but Ole Miss got him, or LSU pulled him away, or whoever, then we'll hear that too.
Yeah, as mentioned, I think that's, don't you agree that this is what hurt Arkansas fans the most? It's like they felt like they settled. It's nothing against Ryan Silverfield. They feel like they were left with the last option at the dance.
Yeah, I think it maybe not the last, but maybe next to the last. Or maybe it should 3-3, because I still think if you get past Womack, if he somehow was offended that suddenly they talked to him and then they didn't, and then you went back to him, then you may not get him, so then you're back to Petrino. If you keep Petrino, that might have been their last option.
All right, next question here coming from Porcahontas, who wants to know, Porcahontas. Who do you think RS will hire as an offensive and defensive coordinator? Any chance he might want to keep Bobby as his offensive coordinator?
The people that know Bobby, and I think his daughter even got involved in this and put up a post, but we were told all along, no, he's kind of done.
It's all or nothing. And I'm the head coach at Arkansas, I may be done.
He wasn't very, in his that press conference after that last game, he was kind of like, "Woo,
Get me out of
I'm
here.
glad. I'm glad this is over. This was not fun. It's not the most fun thing I ever did." So, but I do not know what he's going to do with coordinators. But this point has been made because he was never an offensive coordinator or
Never
a defensive coordinator.
It's an offensive line
He's
coach.
not somebody. He's like Pittman. He's not somebody that's going to call plays. So he has to. It's very important who his offensive coordinator is, and it's very important who his defensive coordinator is because he's the head coach. So keep an eye on who we don't know yet, but who he brings in for those two positions is really critical.
Sure is. They got to get it right. They got no more cutting corners. They finally have to turn the corner. Next question here coming from Virgil Nix, who says, last I heard, Coach P was not allowed to be the head hog ever. I have never known the university to ever cross the line of no return. So is it true?
I don't think it
They
was.
let the guy be the interim head coach.
I don't think it was true. I will say that when they hired him, that's what I was told. I was told because I thought they couldn't hire him, and I even said so. And then I had a guy. I talked to somebody about an hour before this came down. He said, "You better get on the air and change that because I'm telling you they're going to hire him." And I said, "Well, how does this happen?" And they said, "Because they convinced the administration that he would not be hired in a job where he would make hires. Because Bobby Petrino was fired originally because he hired his mistress and employed her inside the athletic department in a job that she was not qualified for, and they turned down other more qualified candidates.
And manipulated a state-funded hiring process in doing so.
So when you do that, you open yourself up to a lawsuit. And so what they were saying is he can never work here again because he did that. And that's what I was led to believe. They got around it because he wouldn't be hiring anybody. Well, he didn't technically hire anybody as the interim coach, but they certainly gave the impression that he had a chance at the job. And I haven't heard anything to indicate that if he won 2 or 3 games, he wouldn't have gotten it. So I think that was wrong.
Yeah, judging by the press release, we've talked about this on a bunch of episodes, I think there was a lot of support for him. And I think even, administration-wise, they did want to put him in a position where he would get the job, or else it would have never even been mentioned. Sure. Next question here coming from Kay Haas, who asked, when realignment happens in 2030, 2031, what will that mean for us? Will we be relegated to G5 status or FCS-type status? Will we be out of the SEC? Just want to prepare for the worst. I don't see us making it into the 30-team Super League or whatnot. We're kind of talking about this a little bit earlier.
Yeah. It's possible, but here's what I'm going to say. And you can't say it definitively until we get to that point if they're going to do this, but I don't think it's going to be a 30-team Super League. If they're going to come up with a Super League, I think it'll be anywhere from 45 to 64 teams. I think they're going to want more than less in it because that envelops more of the country. Okay, one of the reasons they would do this Super League is for more money. It's what everything's about now. I got to make more money. Well, keep an eye on what's going on with the number of teams in the playoffs because everybody was griping about this plan to have 20.
24.
24.
Are they going to 16 or are they going to 24?
Yeah.
Which I don't like, by the way.
You don't like it, but that may be an answer to not do this. If you went even to 36 teams in the playoffs, what do you think about it now?
5 playoff games? Or 32 team field would be 5 playoff games.
Okay. But that gives the TV revenue. Everybody gets more money, and more people get in from the SEC, and more teams get in from the Big Ten, and that's what they all want. So that might be an alternative to doing this other thing. I don't know what's going to happen here.
Don't you agree? Won't that hurt the sport? It'll be great for the playoff.
It will hurt.
But if you got a 32-team playoff, that's going to hurt your product.
It will hurt the sport to go to a Super League, I think. I do, because it's going to leave too many fans out around the country. So I just mentioned that as an alternative.
Well, what about, you take the 4 power conferences, and they do break away into some new level. So that's about 64 teams. And there is a 12 or 16 team playoff. Throw in Notre Dame, maybe just a handful of others.
If you make it 64-team Super League, then Arkansas gets in. I tell you, I promise you they will. They'll get in if it's 30 or maybe.
Yeah, 30, they're in trouble.
They're in trouble. 45, they're probably in. 60, they're definitely in. So if they're going to have a Super League, you want it to be as big as possible.
So your number, fair to say that you're pretty comfortable, like, all right, Arkansas makes cut off 50?
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Isn't it crazy we've gotten to this point?
I don't
where
think
where
they
we're
would-
talking about like, hey, is
I
Arkansas
don't
one of the
think you'd
50
get a
most
weird
desirable
number
teams?
like 50. I think you'd go from 40-something up to 64. 64 is a good number.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's manageable. It's even.
4 16-team conferences, essentially, something like that.
How they break it down, yeah. So
Maybe even 80. Maybe it'd be like 4
It would
20s.
be more like the NFL, only double.
I do get the feeling, though, that the Big Ten and the SEC, they do have autonomy over the college football playoffs. So that means that even if they don't like what's going on, they can drop the hammer and they can fix it. So I wonder if are we heading to a 20 to 24 team SEC, a 20 to 24 team Big Ten, and that's it. That's what we got.
Maybe
but and is Arkansas safe because they're already in the footprint? I don't know.
Yeah, they are.
All right.
So we'll see. We'll see if it happens that way. There are a lot of different possibilities.
Yeah, a lot of hypotheticals in college football. I hope they keep the playoff at 12. I think it's moving to 16. If it goes to 16, please, keep it there for a long, long time. But it's the almighty dollar, Mike Irwin. More to come here on Ask Mike after a quick timeout. Back here on Ask Mike, time to wrap things up. Final block here of the show, getting back into your questions. Why Petrino says, I'll never understand, but Bobby Petrino decided to stick with Taylor Green experiment to the very end. But why? If you look at the numbers, it's easy to see that KJ Jackson would have given Arkansas a chance to beat Missouri if he played the entire game.
Well, his own explanation after the game, he said he wanted to give KJ a chance to show what he could do. So if the new coach comes in and wants to use him, or if he wants somebody else saw him and he wants to transfer,
he said he thought he earned it.
He wanted to be fair to him, but he said he had to be fair to Taylor Green too because his parents are there and it's Seniors Day. Here's what's weird about that: the old Bobby Petrino would never care about any of that stuff. Whatever would make him win, that's what he would do. And so what that told me once again is he had reached a point. He was exhausted. He was tired of all this stuff. He just said, hey, let's do this. Now, I do think he still wanted to win. I mean, somebody pointed out to me he was still screaming at the referees because he was mad at stuff that was going on.
I think they had 16 penalties.
Yeah,
so
screaming about. He still wanted to win, but not enough to tell Taylor Green, look, I'm glad you came in and tried to help me here, but I'm sorry your parents here, but you're not going to play because we're going to play this kid the whole game. It was just different. It was just strange watching him do that.
What do you think the odds are that KJ Jackson's back? He's young. You see flashes. The touchdown pass was great through the second level there, but there's some accuracy concerns.
All I know is what Kaylee told us. Kaylee.
It's all good.
What am I doing here?
You got the syllables right.
Ailey told us. She's on our staff. How could I do that?
It's all good. It's all good.
Kaylee?
Hey, she knows you love and respect her, Mike. It's all good.
That's what she told us, that she knows people that know him and he's staying. He likes
or
him.
wants to stay.
Wants
we
to
should
stay.
say.
Now, I guess if they didn't have a place for him or something, he might ask a question. What are my chances of being the starter? And they go not good. Then he might leave.
Yeah, naturally, whenever a new coach comes in, you immediately look at the roster. It's like, all right, hey, who's he going to bring with him? Memphis quarterback, the name is escaping me right now. He's a senior. No more eligibility. Yeah. So I don't think there's going to be some kind of quarterback pairing, which is why a lot of people fell in love so much with Eric Morris, because Drew Mestermaker, who's going to win the Burlsworth Award, still has 3 years of eligibility.
I mean, there's still some people asking if we bring this quarterback in or that quarterback in. Drake Lindsey, is he going to reach out to Drake Lindsey at Minnesota? Are they going to offer him some money? He's been offered $1.5 million next year at Minnesota. I don't think they're going to offer him $1.5 million.
That's crazy.
But, we don't know.
For $1.5 million to a quarterback that I think Minnesota's going to have a 7-win season?
Yeah.
That's nuts. But more power to them. The kids deserve it. You see, Arkansas is getting between a $50 and a $60 million check from ESPN for all this TV money, as are all the other SEC schools are. The kids deserve the money. They're the product. We don't pay to go watch the coach blow the whistle. We don't pay to watch these kids take a biology test. We want to see football. Next question here coming from Adam Ford, who says, no one wants to hear this, but if this is how the SEC is going to officiate Arkansas football, then it actually doesn't matter who the head coach is.
Well, that's a result. At one point, it looked like they might end up with more penalties than they had in the Mississippi State game. Didn't turn out that way. But I think what they were complaining about was you get a no call when Taylor Green gets hammered going out of bounds, but then we call an Arkansas guy when it looked like what he was doing is kind of got shoved out against the guy. So they just felt like they weren't treating the two teams the same way. But here's what I would say. Greg Sankey came to the Little Rock Touchdown Club a couple of weeks ago. That was your opportunity to grill him. What are you doing? And they let him off the hook.
Basil, we love you, man. He did ask the question. Baz asked the question.
Yeah, but the fans themselves, if I'd have been in that crowd, I'd say, well, hey, bud, what are you doing? This is supposed to be fair. They let him off the hook. He gave a gobbledygook answer that I found totally unacceptable, and he got away with it. So, you missed your chance.
And I will say this, too, along those lines. I haven't said this, but I'll say it now. There's nothing wrong with this. We reached out to the SEC. We reached out to the Little Rock Touchdown Club trying to interview Greg Sankey at the, especially coming out of that game. We were said, no, he's only doing the interview with David Basil. There will be no side breakdown. There will be no further questions answered. So that's, and I'm not going to speak for other people. Other reporters inquired as well, I was told, and they also
clearly
were turned away.
He had some rules in place before he agreed to do it.
And what was the speaking fee? What did Baz pay him to get in there?
He's protecting himself before he ever gets there.
All right, next question here coming from Marty Bird's Proxy, who says, Saturday's game made me think of the history of Arkansas Razorback Stadium being afternoon games only. Can you tell us a little about when and how the lights were installed? Seems like there were some temporary lights at first, maybe mid-'80s. Love this question. I love it.
Yeah, I had to go to Rick Schaefer, who was the sports information director, just so I could get the I remember it, but I didn't remember what year. I remembered it was an Arkansas-Baylor game. So it was 91. ABC wanted to televise Arkansas and Baylor as a night game, and there were no lights there. Well, they'd done some games with Notre Dame under temporary lights, so they somehow got those lights, and they brought them in. I remember it was really weird because there's these 4 light stands on every corner.
On cranes, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what they would put them up with.
And it was a strange pattern because it looked like, it was weird to look at. There were lights they did this. If you're sitting up in the stands and watching the game, it was a little bit annoying. Mm-hmm. Now on TV it wasn't as bad, and that's what they were doing it for, was for television. But they played it. Okay, Frank had reached the point where the stadium had been increased from 41,000 to a little over 50, maybe 52,000. It was closer to Little Rock now. And he felt like they were losing some opportunities by not having night games as available anytime a network wanted to schedule it. So I think it was around 95 that he finally said, there's enough reason here to go through the expense of putting up permanent lights, and we've had them ever since. That's the story.
And night games have made college football so much better.
Oh,
everything.
Except that we don't have enough night games anymore.
But why is that? Why don't they have more night games?
They're not winning.
Because they're not winning. So they're playing all their games on the SEC network.
So that's just another wasted thing here. We got lights. They were put up to have night games. Let's have night games. Win more games.
I feel like the SEC was really, kind of the conference was the forefront of putting these games on it. Do you remember? I'm sure you do, right? Before the NCAA got sued, there used to be 2 games on a week.
Oh, I remember.
Frank Broyles would call one of those, an 11 a.m. game and a 3 o'clock game, and that was it.
And because of that, you know what was very popular back in those days? The coaches' show. Because if you didn't go to the game, if you didn't have season tickets and you didn't get to see it on TV, and they were only on TV maybe once a year, twice a year, then the only way you could see the video was to watch the coaches' show. And they were elaborate. They didn't go through every play, but Frank would be on there explaining this and that. I remember when Lou came on, and even Petrino did that some. Mm-hmm. I liked Petrino because he was very in-depth. He was more coach-like when he did it. But that kind of stuff is not as big anymore because we pretty much see these games. They're on, if they're not on regular TV, they're on ESPN3. I finally broke down and got Hulu because Hulu has every...
Back on YouTube TV, by the way.
Back on there, but I've already dumped YouTube because if you got Hulu, I guarantee you're going to get anything ESPN, plus they have a lot of other stuff, even Fox and some of them. There's no game I can't watch now.
YouTube TV losing a valuable. Oh, look at this.
They lost me.
A gentleman and a scholar like Mike Irwin. You guys couldn't figure it out. You had to shut us out for 2 or 3 weeks.
I got criticized by all these people that hate Disney. I don't hate Disney. I don't go to Disneyland.
I just want to watch the football games.
I just want to watch the football games. There's no politics in this for me.
Final question of the week. A very busy week with a new head football coach here at Arkansas now. Parallax Pig asking, with the announcement of the 3 permanent opponents in football, will they move our Thanksgiving weekend game back to LSU? It will be easy to do. Mizzou takes Oklahoma.
Yeah, apparently they're going to release this 2026 schedule sometime this month. It'll be before January. And what I was told is, yes, they are definitely working on that. It's probably going to happen, and it's probably going to happen the way you describe it. I mean, Oklahoma and Missouri are longtime rivals.
Big Eight, yeah.
Whatever Drinkwitz feels about Arkansas, I guarantee you, their fans hate OU more than they hate us. So that would be a good rivalry game, and I think Razorback fans would much rather play LSU. I still think they want to beat Missouri, but maybe just because they're mad and they keep losing it, it's not the rivalry for Arkansas that the battle for the boot is. The battle line rivalry is not as big a deal to Arkansas fans as the battle for the boot.
And hopefully, you know, do you want it on the Friday after Thanksgiving?
Yeah, it's okay.
Well, here's why I like it. Marquee stage.
Yeah.
It's the national stage.
It's a little different
as
for
a
us.
husband and a dad, the idea of getting on an airplane or getting in a car all day on Thanksgiving, not the greatest.
Yeah, probably.
And probably the football team doesn't like doing it either.
Yeah, but it's different for us. I mean, you're used to covering a Saturday game. It kind of moves everything up, but then it gives you Saturday off. So
yeah, there were some good games on Friday. Marquee time slots too. The Texas A&M game. It's awesome.
Yeah.
That's back as well. So all right, final thought here, pretty quick. We got some time to talk about it, I suppose. But what makes a successful season next year? Is it 6-6, get to a bowl game, or is it more about culture, buy-in? Who can you build around?
Well, I think you could. It's not going to be a disaster if they don't get to a bowl game. So, but you can't have one win or no wins or whatever. It can't.
They go 2-10, 3-9.
Yeah,
That's
there has
trouble.
to be an improvement. But I would say, if you really want to get people excited, if they get 6 wins and get to a bowl game, people are going to be excited.
I agree, and please, but we said this back in August. No Liberty Bowl. Let's go. You know, Las Vegas.
You don't always have a choice with the SEC. But
something that's a little bit.
I
more
think it's
fun.
the SEC that decides that we belong in the Liberty Bowl.
Mike Irwin doing a fantastic job here on this week's Ask Mike. Thank you so much for checking in.